Okay, so today we're going to be practicing how to find the solutions of polynomial inequalities. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we need to find the solutions to this inequality. We're going to find where this is less than 0. Okay, basically what we're trying to do is find where this equation is negative. Okay, so before we can find where this is negative or positive, we need to know where this equation is 0. So the zeros are at x equals 0, at x equals -4, and x equals 1. Now these zeros occur when you actually set these factors equal to 0. So if you set -x equal to 0 and solve for x, you get x equals 0. If you set x plus 4 equal to 0, you subtract 4 from both sides, you get x is -4. Same thing here. You add 1 to both sides, you get these. Okay, so these are my zeros. So this is my number line. Okay, so I'm going to write my zeros on my number line. So I'm going to put 0 here. That's one of my zeros. I put a little 0 there to remind myself this is a 0. Then -4, that's a 0. And +1, that's a 0. Now, in between these numbers and on the outside, those numbers are either going to be greater than 0 or less than 0. In other words, positive or negative. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to test numbers in these areas and see if those numbers come out positive or negative based on my polynomial here. So you can pick any number you want to less than -4. Okay? I'm going to pick -5. Okay? When I plug -5 in here, -5, this makes it +5. So my first factor is positive. And again, I don't really care too much what the number is. I'm basically trying to find the sign of whatever the number is. So if I plug in -5, that makes it +5. So this factor is positive. When I plug -5 in here, -5 plus 4 is -1. So this number is negative. And -5 minus 1 is -6. So this number is negative. Now the reason the really number doesn't matter is because I'm looking for the signs of those numbers. Because a negative times a negative is a positive times another positive, which means whatever the numbers are, when I multiply the signs, that number is going to net positive. It's going to be a positive number. Again, I'm really not looking for the number itself, just its sign. So I'm going to do the same thing here at -1. So plug in -1, -1 opposite sign becomes positive. -1 plus 4, that's a positive number. And -1 minus 1, that's going to be a negative number. And a positive times a negative means this totally becomes negative there. Now here, I'm going to pick 1/2. Again, plug 1/2 in here. This is negative. Plug 1/2 in here. This is positive. When I plug in 1/2 here, this is going to be negative. So negative times a positive means this is positive here. And then on this side, a number bigger than 1, I'm going to pick 2. So plug 2 in here, so that makes it negative. This will be +6. This will be +1. So positive times a negative means negative. Okay? Now, I need to find my solutions. Okay, so that's my game. I want to find my solutions. So I'm looking for where this is less than 0. And again, numbers less than 0 are the negative numbers. So the way I come up with my inequality is wherever my solutions are, my negatives, I'm going to put an x there, like this and like that. Okay? Because this is my solution, less than 0, negative numbers. Then I'm going to bring down my zeros. So wherever I have those zeros, I'm going to bring those numbers down like that. And then wherever I see an x and a number here, I'm going to put less than symbols, like this. Now, if this were equal to 0, I would use equal to as well. Okay? these are my solutions. This is less than 0 between -4 and 0, and x is greater than 1. That's my solutions. -4 to 0 in union with 1, x is greater than 1. If you wanted to write this, you could write it also as its inequalities, or you could do it in its notation form where it would be parentheses -4 to 0 in union with 1 to infinity. And notice none of them are brackets because we're not including the zeros. We're just saying bigger. Now, big picture, this is the graph right here. And again, you can see here's my zeros, 0 here, and my 0 here, which match up with these zeros. And here, it's above the x-axis. My y values are positive here on this side. So they're positive here. From here to here, they're negative. From here to here, they're positive. And from here to here, they are negative. So basically, this sign chart matches my graph. And the graph can also tell me my solutions. Okay? But we're doing it this way. Okay? But I just wanted to show you how you could double check. So the next example we have is this one. Okay? And we're going to work it exactly the way we did the last one. So first, I'm going to be looking for where this polynomial is greater than or equal to 0. So again, I need to find out where my zeros are. My zeros are at -2, at 1, and at 3. So -2 plus 2 is 0, 1 minus 1 is 0, 3 minus 3 is 0. And again, I'm going to put them on my number line. So -2 is a 0, 1 is a 0, and 3 is a 0. Okay? Now we're going to test our values. So pick a number smaller than -2, like -3 or -4, -5, -10, doesn't matter. And you're going to plug them in. So I plug negative number in here, then square it, that's going to be positive. When I plug -3 in here, it's going to be negative cubed, which is still negative, and negative minus negative is still negative. So this one here, negative times a positive, this part is positive. Now I'm going to pick -1. Or you could pick 0. Let's pick 0 because that's going to be really easy. So I pick 0 because 0 is between -2 and 1. When I plug in 0, I get 2 squared, that's positive. When I pick 0, I get -1 cubed, which is going to be negative. 0 minus 3 is negative. That means a negative times a positive, positive. Here, between 1 and 3, I'm going to pick 2. I mean, I could have picked 1.5, but we're going to keep it simple, right? So again, plug 2 in. When I plug 2 into this factor, I get a positive number. When I plug 2 in here, I get a positive because 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 cubed is 1. When I plug 2 in here, I get -1, so it's a negative. And a positive times a negative is negative. And then bigger than 3, so I'm going to pick 4. And we're going to get positive for this factor, positive for that factor, and positive for that, so it nets positive. Now, again, we're going to do the same thing. I'm looking for where it's greater than or equal to 0. Greater than 0, numbers greater than 0 are positive numbers. So anywhere I have these positive signs, that's where my solutions are. So I'm going to put an X here where the positives are. So I'm putting them under the numbers I picked to get the positive or negative. Then I'm going to drop my zeros. So I'm going to bring my zeros in. In between any X and a number, I'm going to put a less than sign. Like that. But now, since it's equal to 0, I need these to be equal to the 0 as well. So I'm going to put equal signs here. So this is equal to the 3 because it's one of my solutions. 3 is a solution. Okay? Now, this is an interesting part right here because this is when x is less than or equal to -2, and this is where x is greater than or equal to -2. and say how I include everything, basically everything from here this way is all a solution. So I don't really have to separate this. I can just say this part. It's everything x less than -1. So my solutions are where x is less than or equal to 1, and union with 3 is less than or equal to x. Or if you want to write it the other way, it's from -infinity all the way to +1, but we have to include 1, and union with 3 all the way to +infinity. So either way. And these are my solutions. And once again, this is the sign chart that we created for the inequality, but here is my graph of my function, okay? And here are my zeros at -2, at 1, and at 3. And you can see it's positive over here, positive right here, negative, and positive. And it matches my sign chart right there. That is polynomial inequalities.